play guitar, talk, some interviews. And these really cool things that you should know. everybody. It's Tommy. I'm just jacking off here or something. I got a cool interview we can watch for a little bit. I got a lot of influence from Steve, and I grew up in Santa Barbara.
And I could do that like 10
senior in
years
high
old.
school.
Never thought I was like, oh my
And
gosh.
I knew and played with him now and then as an acquaintance.
Come into play,
Cool guy.
You know what I mean? So if you could play like a,
I remember.
you know, you were in.
When did
Now, when you start, y'all know what the entry level is as far as technique and stuff like this. So I learned how to play the dumb, play along with everybody else stuff. Rhythm guitar before I learned my first blues scale when I was about 11 years old or something. We had this guy, Mark Hollingsworth, who was a great Mark. If you're ever out there, I didn't forget. He had a great Jaguar guitar, and he had the first fuzz and wah that I ever played. You know, I was about 11 when I got that.
How old was he?
He was like 20-something years old.
Okay.
But I was playing in his band with these other two guys, and we were working on the weekends, and he would come in and show us songs. And he took a shine at me for some particular reason. And he goes, hey, man, you know, because I didn't really know what I was doing. He just goes, here.
There always has great tones.
And I went. And he goes, you have a vibrato. And I go, what's that? It just seemed natural for me to go, wow. You know, and then, you know, when I stopped, most kids would go, and for some reason my hand just had it, and he went, I wasn't and the rest is, I learned everything exponentially as it got harder. I was able to do
Okay,
it.
let's talk
But
about
now you start at entry-level words.
That's because you got YouTube.
If I was a young guitar player looking at it going, have you guys heard Eric Gales or, you know, Mateus Asano or Phil X or fucking John Five or, you know, Satch. I mean, everybody knows Satch Vai and of course everybody's inspiration, Eddie. But I came at it from a different point. I started with the Beatles and it got harder as it went. So, I mean,
Okay, let's talk about this. Let's start. What was the first solos that you learned?
I showed you that.
But when you start, so as song, you would learn songs.
There weren't really solos to
Or
learn
parts,
until
right?
Jimmy and Clapton came along. And Jeff Beck, of course, Jimmy Page and all those guys. But prior to that, if you could play like whatever the melody of the solo happened to be on a pop song at the time, like if you could play like, you know, oh, you know a bar chord, ooh, you're badass. So nowadays it's funny, right? You know, I have my guitar set up for the clean super sound right now, but you get the
Something
idea.
F you just
When you started learning solos, were you like, oh, this is amazing?
I didn't really know, I just wanted to do whatever I heard on the radio or whatever I heard on the record. Find some, I was always playing with older guys, which is how I got myself into trouble as a young lad. But I was able to hear stuff and figure it out. And then if I couldn't figure it out, I'd find some older guy that knew how to play it to show it to me. There was a bunch of kids down the street from my parents' house that had a band. They were like 15 and I was just a little kid. And I was just fumbling around struggling to make a noise on this one. And there was this one guy who was a guitar player out there. He was Rickenbacker electric. He's like, you know, you got a Beatles guitar, man. You know? And he taught me how to play. There was a Standell song called Dirty Laundry.
Right.
That was one of the first things I learned. One finger. Dumb, right? But at the time, if you could play something off the radio, people were impressed.
You told me something earlier today that your mom won a piano, a spinet piano. Tell the story.
My mom won a spinet piano on the Hollywood Squares when I was like, I don't know, 10, 11 years old.
as a kid.
And I had been playing guitar.
I
and
didn't.
stuff.
I didn't believe it. I was
My
like,
mom actually is like, you know,
I was
Charlie
born
Weaver to win,
60.
you know what I mean? And she wanted, you won the spinet piano. You know, it's like, older people understand the game show routine, but it arrived at my house. She said, it's even cool. Nobody could play it. So it ended up in my room. It fit into a little thing that I had in my room area. And I just taught myself how to pick out the notes. And then I started playing with real keyboard players. They taught me stuff. And then I studied piano. When I started taking music really seriously at 14, I started studying everything.
you learned how to read music then,
It
right?
was very difficult because I played by ear for until I was like 8 years old, or 7, 8 years old, just playing dumb stuff. But when I decided that I wanted to do this professionally, my father was in the television and movie business. He was working at Paramount, but he did all the behind the scenes stuff. He was an assistant director, production manager. When I was born, he was doing the Ozzy and Harriet show.
Okay.
And he did I Dream of Jeannie, and you'll see the name late night Nickelodeon or something and go, hey, is that somebody in my family,
cool.
my grandfather and my dad. But he said he knew Carl Fortino, who was the head of music and he was the contractor for Paramount. He goes, hey, my kid plays guitar. He needs to learn how to read music. I'll let him do this, but he's got to learn the basics. My dad was like really adamant about, if you're going to do this, then you got to learn. And I sort of went kicking and screaming at first, because I hadn't yet to meet the Picaro brothers in high school when I found out what a studio musician was really all about. But I started studying. It was really hard, man, because if you could play good and you have to start going. And I had a really good ear, and I had this great teacher, Jimmy Weibel, God bless his soul.
Yes.
Legendary jazz.
Talk about him.
Well, Carl was the guy who introduced, that said, get him as he's the right teacher, because he had the patience to teach a beginner who could play. I had to audition for him. He goes, oh, you play good, but you can't read, so I'm going to start over. So I was like, oh, God, it was really difficult, because my ears would catch up. I'd hear it once, and I'd play it back. So what he would do is he goes, here, take this and work on the reading on this, and I'd come back the next week, and he'd hand me a chart that had the same level of reading, but the notes were all different. And he goes, okay, play this for me. And I'm like, obviously scuffed. He goes, you get mad? He goes, stop using your ear. You're not reading the part. And he would bust my balls on it. It was really hard to go back and learn the basics, you know. After I'd already been playing in bands and all the rest of that, but I'm really glad. I wish I'd started from the beginning. I gotta be really honest with you. Because, you know, guitar players are legendary bad readers anyway, for the most part, because it's one of the few instruments that has the same note in several different places, right?
Exactly. 2.8 places. Somebody told me that once before.
Where's the
average note?
2, 3, 4, 5 notes for a C.
No, that's actually what makes it so difficult.
If you play the flute, little C is middle C.
That's right.
There's nowhere else to look for.
Yeah.
So we have to think in terms of position and look ahead to see, you know, the greatest fear of every guitar player is the ledger line.
Right.
Just to get in sessions going early and go, okay.
How much reading did you really do in sessions, though?
You know, when I was young, I got up to the point where I could read good enough to be on record dates.
Yeah.
And, you know, and most of the time it was like, I wrote 98% of the time I wrote all my own parts.
Okay.
Aside from the roadmap of learning the changes and the form, learning how to double DS and all the, you know, you knew how to get around the chart, and obviously you knew what the chords, and you had to have a ranger's ear.
Right.
You're not just going to sit there and play an F sharp major 7th chord for the whole time just because it says it on the paper.
On the 2% of the time that you had to read.
Oh, I had to read a couple times. There were a couple scary moments. Lee Rittenauer saved me when I was 19 years old, and I was just starting. I was with him the other night. We had a great, it was me, Rittenauer, Jay Graydon, and who the hell else was there? And me. And we were just reminiscing about the 70s and 80s when we were, before we were really artists and stuff, we were just the guys, you know. I remember being young, and I'd gotten flat tired of a date. Now, this Gene Page date was full orchestra, full strings, horns, live vocals, full, you know, there was 3 guitar players, and I was like guitar 2.
Who would be the other 2 guys, for example?
Rittenauer was guitar 1, obviously.
Okay.
Somebody else, it may have just been the 2 of us, I don't remember, but I showed up late because I got a flat tire on the way to the gig.
Okay.
So I barely snuck in. And Rit was there, and we had just worked on something before. He took a little bit of a shine at me. I love the kid. And I get there, and of course I'm sitting at guitar 2. And I'm panicking. And Gene Page is like, I'm really sorry, my car broke. I had to announce it to 70 people in the room. So I'm this little zip-faced punk-ass, who's this guy? And I'm like, I put my suit, I get plugged in, and they're ready to take it. It's going direct to 2
Oh, no.
Direct to 2. There's no, like, can I punch my part in? No, man. And I, just as I start to count it off, I look at my part, and it's the piano part in D-flat, no chord symbols.
Oh, my God.
I got no time to skull it,
Probably
nothing.
drowning him out, I'm
and I look
sorry.
over at Rit, and he's
I'm
got
just
like
doing
tacit,
stuff.
which
Fast
means
down,
layout,
play guitar.
and fill,
Maybe show
couple
you a few
chords on
licks.
it. Mine looks like somebody wiped their ass with paper. And I must have looked at him like I saw my grandmother bent over the shower or something. I helped color like a cartoon. And by the count of 2, Rit did this. He
Wow.
bailed me.
Wow.
And it was a hard part. He signed it perfectly, of course. And I had time to go. I got 16 bars to kind of collect myself, and then I just have to go. Or something like that. You know what I mean? And he's sight reading the block.
No
chords.
problem.
Oh,
No problem.
you know, he said stuff about
Yeah.
the best readers. as well as a great musician. But he could have let me die.
Okay,
and
so
he could have ruined my career because everybody in that room would have gone, I saw that guy. He can't read. He can't. He saved my ass.
okay, so
And I would always do that for somebody if it was the tables were turned because I remember.
when did it go from people reading charts to people making up their own parts?
Well, we always made up our own parts on records. Always, from day one. Occasionally, I took a date as a young studio musician. Somebody goes, "Oh, you want a session at whatever studio?" Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'll take anything because I want to break into the scene. And, we all have stories. Everybody has stories. Ask anybody who had to sit next to Tommy Tedesco. Tommy would go, I think Rick told me a great story when he first started out. Tommy was the king.
Explain who Tommy Tedesco
Tommy Tedesco was the grandfather of all studio guitar players. He had a photographic memory as well as could sight read anything. And matter of fact, he could sight read so good. Glenn Carroll told me he turned the chart upside down and he read it perfectly, backwards.
Yeah, he was the grandfather of session guitar.
And everybody knew he played a lot of Monkees record, but he was a jazzer.
Right.
The difference between them is all those guys in the record crew, they were basically jazzers or country players. And then we were the next guys in, and we were mostly rock players that could do other stuff.
Right.
And we were the upstarts, personality-wise. They were very silent in the room, and we were not. We were a little bit more crazy. It was a lot more fun. Not more fun, it was a different kind of fun. Hey, Tommy, he would do stuff. Like Rick came in, sat in Guitar One because he was like the new hot shot in town. And Tommy came in, saw him, sat down with Guitar Two, and just kind of looked at him. And they played the first, and Rick played it great. Tommy then said, he goes, I'll bet you $100 you fucking up this time. They count up the tune. You go to Tommy, meet Tommy you used to have to go to the musicians union to pick up your checks, which were always like months after you did the session. And it used to be the thing, who has the most pile of checks? It was just stupid teenage shit, even though it was a lot of fun. But if you saw Tommy at the end, you had to be careful because he liked to gamble a lot, so he would bet anybody anything. Now, these checks could be for record dates, they could be for jingles, which would make you do a jingle for a half hour back then for $30.
Well, how do you even keep track of this stuff?
You have a date book.
Okay.
It says I'm here, and then in a certain period of time, you want to be paid. If you haven't been paid, then you have to follow up with it. But generally, everybody was really cool and professional. Okay. So it didn't really happen. But Tommy would go put his hand on I'll bet you the whole pile of checks that my check is higher than yours. You want to take the bet? Now you go get Tommy going, I've been doing all record dates, so I know my checks are for $1,000, a couple grand. His could have been for like a movie date for whatever, or a jingle for $25 or something.
Right.
Jeff McCall lost to him a couple times, and Jeff was the busiest guy. Because he didn't want to not play with Tommy. He's the legend. Like, if you look at Tommy, you go, okay, I lost that. We'll do it again. But everybody lost to Tommy at least once. And he was so great about it. He was like, well, he liked it. He said, make it pay. There's some guys that go, I'm just kidding. No, there's certain gamblers that when you lose, you pay. Even if they're your friend.
Talk about the guys that, like Jay, Braden, Carlton, these guys.
Well,
the kind of the guys that were there
I would say
right
that,
before
when I first got interested in becoming a studio musician, it was obviously after I met the Picaro family, and their father was a top call, God bless John. We spent a lot of time in his house, rehearsing and stuff, and Jeff would always pop over because we were still in high school. Jeff was the drummer of Steely Dan when we were in high school. So they were making Katie live while we were in high school. And our high school band was me and Michael Landau on guitar, John Pierce on bass, Carlos Vega on drums, Steve Picaro on keyboards. Plus we had 3 singers, Charlie, Laura, and Gina. And Jeff and David Page would come down and sit in with us.
Anyway, hey everybody. I don't know what I'm doing. I've got a real nice studio here and stuff. And a lot of nice guitars, and I'm an old guy just futzing around and having fun recording it sometimes. I even have trouble grabbing the damn guitars, just stare at them all day. I don't know why. I got my Strat sounding real nice today. I hope some of that was halfway decent. It sounds good here. And on my recordings, and getting it to video on an iPhone. And it sounds good if you plug that iPhone into speakers or whatever, Bluetooth you do these days, yeah. I sort of try and mix the balance for like monitors. real cool lick, and I learned it a long time ago, but it's great to know for blues and rock. You start with the standard blues lick. You can just do it straight. That's a nice one, and then you go into like. Cool. That was with the boost on. I was running. This is a 5150. What do you call it? The combo. Iconic. It's an iconic 40 watt. I have it cut to 20 watts. I have a couple boxes of red pedal ecstasy Bogner because I had a Bogner 100 watt head ecstasy for 15 years. I had to sell it to help me keep my house. And anyway, so an OD 200 and an ecstasy red pedal. That's it. But the gain. This is the gain of the channel 1 of the 5150 without anything at all. That's straight with. Like, I think it's wide open. The volume's open, wide open on the channel 1. And it has about gain of about 3 or 4 right here. I run it through the 1073 Neve compressor. EQ. Excuse me. Preamp with EQ, the 1073, and an 1176 right here. 1073, 1176. I can do a lot. Get more clear, louder, but just bring it down. So if I crush it, it gets more clear, or crush it more. So you totally crush it more, and you still have the volume. It does a lot and helps. It's a little trebly. I hate treble too much. That's mid. Beautiful mid. And the highs are cut almost all the way. I dropped my pick. Oh, yeah, I found it. I've only got 3 of my favorite picks. Hard and thin. Very hard and thin, but I can bend them if I really want to dig in. That's just the amp. Well, too much. Too much, a little bit of reverb here. Guitarist, man, who plays Strat and Les Paul and some other ones. There's some kids out here doing 1 trillion miles an hour, and I don't care for it musically. And how long can you listen to it to relax, enjoy yourself, or party and have fun with rhythm and groove and some melody? Just channel 1. It's a great amp, I got that. And then I have a little Saldano over here just for echo. I tri-amp right now. I used to buy amp in 1979 with a Fender Princeton reverb and a Fender Montrose solid state, great amp, and a Yamaha. I think it was an E110 analog delay in between them. Just straight into my Princeton headbox. In the Princeton, out of the I think the preamp out or one of the outs of the Princeton into the straight into the guitar, into the input of the echo, like that. Let me get rid of it. Into that, into the Yamaha E1010, and then out of that right into this input of the Montreux amp, which is like a guitar, the front input, guitar input. Into that, and I controlled the echo volume with that, and it was great. Doug Scott taught me that. One of the guys who produced my first record as a nobody in California with our band Gemini, my younger brother and I, and two other fraternal twin brothers. I'm not twins with my brother. He's a good singer, my younger brother. Anyway, so I learned a lot of stuff out in Santa Barbara and floating through. I was born in L.A., man. I saw Eddie, honest to God, live in Pasadena before he was getting really well known, and just started to play on the Strip as a featured artist. That's a neat trick. You need to simple, do so much because it's right. It keeps you like playing in chord form. And follow your chords, man. The C, the D, and the E minor. That's how Eddie did. You can do it in any key. Right? He just does it here. Ending in a G. I'm probably not in tune, man. Stretched it out. Okay. This thing stays in tune so good. I can trust it. Pretty good. It was all the whole thing, a teensy bit, a 2 cents flat. Not bad. My E was low. There. That's it. Anyway. See this chord shape? I know a lot of guys know this, and they're gonna rip me for go getting another job. Dude, I've been doing this 51 years, getting paid for it, lots of money, off and on. It paid for my aviation, for God's sakes, to become an airline pilot. Music paid for it in the beginning, so somebody thought I could play. I just don't know how to make videos. So I hope you can bear with me. I'm learning. This is the TommyRad Guitar Cast podcast. It's the Guitar Cast. And I'll learn to talk to you. But learn to talk with your guitar. What's his name? Using these two together, very important. Like Mr. Big. Fits together so nice. This is also E minor, right? okay, then I'm getting tired because I'm old and I have blood disorder. Acute intermittent porphyria. Yeah, it's been kicking my ass. It's terminal. It's just manageable. My significant other has just last year found out she had multiple myeloma, bone marrow cancer. You know, real shit, like my grandfather who died in 3 months. But she can live 30, well, she's 73, but she can live 20 years, you know, the rest of her life normally with management. They figured out how to manage that. What I have, porphyria, is hereditary. It's a hemp disorder in the blood. Makes me nuts sometimes. Well, I'm gonna leave this and get a soda again, and I'll be back. I'm learning to get better at this. I've got a whole big, beautiful studio with lots of good stuff. 88 key Roland Phantom keyboard workstation. It takes in microphones, records 20. It has 24 tracks of audio, and it'll record. It's sampling, and then it also has 99 tracks of MIDI with every beautiful instrument, like the bass you just heard, bass guitar. This is a real important key scale to know, like Peter Frampton used. So. So that's why he's going. understand why, even though it's like the whole riff is A, C, D, it's at the end of it because that lick, the way he wrote, then he gets it back to A, E, A for the verse, you know, or A, E. Wake up this morning, wine glass, I am. Wine is wine. Dream. I don't know a band. Come on, let's do it again. He gets it back. That was a revelation to me as a guitar player in like 1976. This. Oh, sorry. You. This. That there blew my mind. What was it? Wait. Trying to resolve that in you. Most hard rock. That is just channel 1 of my amp, the supposed clean channel. I can't get it any cleaner than, well, I've got a, you know, I have it compressed so it gives it sustain, and my fingers give it the how hard I push and shit. So it's there's no extra gain on it than the amp being, you know, compressed by volume and gain. It has preamps in it, the 5150. That's what it does. This now this. Wait, sorry. This is the Bogner red pedal. I used to have the whole 100 watt head I had to sell. I got $4,300 for it. Check this, the tone difference. I can turn the variac on. Variac. Check this out. I can gain up a little bit. I hope it's not distorting. It won't distort if you Bluetooth it to speakers. It'll be great. The mix. There we go. great lick here. Oh. Because I'm in B minor now, or B7. That's a great lick. And I have the Bogner pedal on. That's it. Variac on. Structure. I can change the structure. That's beefier. I like this one because it has more octavo. Like, sorry, middle. B1, tight. Variac off. And sorry. Flat. Are you with me? Anybody? Hello. Comment. Would you? Comments will be on. Sorry. I'm an idiot. I can't reach it to positive. I'm so old and tired. Good to go anyway. Nice and in tune. So, I like getting that. No effects, but a teeny, like just room, small room. Ocean's 11. Now let me add something. That's a little short echo from a tape delay recreation. See how I'm rolling and shit? It's basically... Eddie. Just crackles, sorry. You okay, Bella? My dog. Another Eddie. Economy. Thank you, Tim Pierce. Thanks, Tim. I needed a little help with that. TiVo shit. Centron. The scuffs, man. I'm really tired. Yeah, baby. Yeah. not distorting. Please comment. It's like flashing yellow. On the spot, playing 2 instruments at once. My piano's about bass and I'm jamming, and if you like it, stay. If you don't, please comment if my tone's appropriate. I'm Tommy Radcliffe from California, born and raised. I live in Florida now, in Sarasota County, in the North Fort area, kind of out in the country. I've got only one complaining old lady about my drums. But I gave her free guitar lessons for a year. The old nanny over there, the old bat, the henchwoman, the complainer, the freeloader on my lessons for a year. I was so sweet and nice. I finally had to say, man, I'm sick. Remember, I'm like sick, dying, and she wanted lessons every friggin' day. I did it twice a week. Anyway. Always tune your guitar. Oh, I have a bad habit of forgetting. But you can hear it. It's real bad. Check this. I've got... Damn drums goes way out. This is the favorite all-around pedal I've ever had in 51 years. I started with an MXR Phase 90, which is right there. I'll show you all this in a second. And I've had every pedal. I have the green Tube Screamer, which is the only pedal I would want if I was in a crunch to go to a garage band party, a nightclub, a recording studio in New York or LA. I would want my Tube Screamer. And here it is. I'll show you all this. I'll tilt the camera down in a minute. I have a nice little table that was handmade for me with an R on it and everything a guy made for me. It's really beautiful because I'm disabled and I sit down a lot. I try to stand up to play because it's the way you do it. Enough said. I stood up playing 10, 12, 14 hours a day when I was 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I was playing so much. My mother said, please, Marty, come on. Just eat. Would you? You got time to eat, Marty? Yeah, I love my mother so very, very much, and my father, Marine Corps fighter pilot. My mother was a housewife. She was a telephone operator from New Jersey. Married my dad, who was from California. For 250 years, my father's family was in California, and now it is nearly destroyed. The sadness is more overwhelming for me and my brothers that are left. My brother died in 1979. He's killed by a drunk driver. My oldest brother, it was horrible, and we spread his ashes in Santa Barbara over Refugio Beach in Santa Barbara, California. My grandma spread there. My pop-pop is spread there. And my father's a Marine here in Florida because we've been here 30 years. Exiled, basically. Well, I came here for work. I was a pilot with Pan Am. I got hired to fly this airplane. I got hired to fly this airplane because I had like 3,000 hours in it at the time. I was a captain for a small airline out of LAX, Los Angeles, flying passengers to the Grand Canyon and San Diego, the whole Southwest, connecting for Swiss Air and Japan Airlines. And this is actually me in the cockpit. It's hard to tell, but I did commerce flights before the opening of Pan Am Express's service with Jetstream Super 31s in Miami. I was an instructor of other men and a couple women that were 15 and 20-year experienced captains from Ransom Airlines in Philadelphia that Pan Am bought wholly. And I got a seniority number with Airways. You understand? I was hired as a captain, but my seniority number with Pan American World Airways was at the bottom when I start of their list when I started, and you went up appropriately. But I also had which is not really legal, I had a Pan Am Express seniority. It was just for a memo for the pilot lounge, and but I was management. I was management here for almost a year, and then I've flown at 10 airlines. I got fired a lot, and I quit a lot because I knew this airplane and about 5 others better than everybody they had at some of these small airlines I flew. And it was just absurd how much danger they were putting people's lives in. My father flew for the Marine Corps and a test pilot and as a instructor pilot and F-86s and F-3 Demons and all of that. He flew the Corsair, for God's sakes, airplane in World War II, his last 8 months of World War II. Anyway, Pan American World Air was instructor captain, training captain, they're called, for 37 years. He flew the line for 10 years. 707 and 747. Type-rated captain and instructor. And I come from that. He'd come in at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, Down, you're on the ILS. And I'm training for my instrument rating. I'm playing rock and roll here, and I just found it really interesting to fly. My oldest brother was getting hired with Pan Am. My second oldest brother, Chris, did get hired with them and flew for them for like 7 years before they went out of business in December of 1991. And then check. And then I got hired here at Pan Am Express. They bought Ransom. Some people will understand, but I did the most demanding work, and I flew. Get this airplane I flew about in the first 3 months from January 20th of 1990. Dade Collier Airport, which Pan Am wholly owned, they built it. Pan Am built it for Clippers to long. It's a long runway for Clippers. 747s, big ones, big airplanes. Pan Am built Dade Collier, Alligator, Alcatraz. I have been out standing on the runway in Alligator, Alcatraz for a few minutes in the hot summer and in the winter. Anyway, but that was built by Pan Am, and I trained 24 guys. We rotated the instructors. I taught ground school in this airplane because I know the system pretty much better than anybody on the planet except one guy in Santa Barbara, a mechanic. And pilots have to know this stuff like mechanics. I'd have to know the idiot light when it goes off, what it is, where it goes, what's it affecting, how do I reduce its danger, is it an emergency or an abnormality? I got to know in my mind every relay valve and diode in the electrical system. When I see the generator light, what do I do? It's just ingrained in you. Anyway, I've been playing rock and roll since I was 13 in backyard parties. And then I auditioned for a band called Gemini in Santa Barbara in 1979. And I was doing this right about days before I had an audition. Days before my first professional audition. First one. Days before that, my brother Randy was killed. Or a couple months before that. Anyway, it inspired me in a lot of ways. And I walked into this, it was like pretty much a top 10 band for the Santa Barbara area, very competitive with LA, a lot of LA guys there. There's legends that live there. It's the playground of the stars. So, anyway, I auditioned. This band is a good working band called Gemini, and their guitar player went to Australia or something or left, and eventually a bass player too. But I played like 3 months with them. I auditioned. I played 3 songs. I had been playing electric guitar for 75 days. I counted them, playing 10, 12, 14 hours a day. Sometimes 18. Not even taking time to scratch my balls. So I got pretty good, and people noticed me, and I got an audition, and I played 3 songs, a Cars tune, Dangerous Types. It was really a popular solo. That kind of stuff with them. But this, real important. I played Tom Petty in F. Played that because it sounds like it's in F on the record, but it's recorded in E. There's no way to do the solo in anything other than E. Your lip reaction to love. Here she comes again. The starry sky. Oh, I kinda like the way she skies. I kinda like the way she dares. She's my best friend's girl, and she used to be mine. She's so fine. My best friend's girlfriend. Yeah, I can't get there. My best friend's girlfriend. My best friend's girlfriend. You can use them all. And he did something. That's in G. That's the E minor, same thing. Know that you know what I just did. That one there. See the steps? It's so it should have ended up there. Yes. Oh. No. No. Yeah, there it is. There it is. And then see these things are just everywhere. And you're just these triads and intervals and these. You know what I mean? So cool. Understand what I mean? They're just right over and underneath each other. You learn the hand form. That's the same as see, I don't need a lot of distortion. I don't need a lot of effect. I'll end with it. organized and stuff. More distortion. That was like 20% distortion on the OD200. My yellow box. There we go. Little treble helps sometimes. Yeah, baby. Fly to the moon. Pattern work. That's why Mr. Big is so good with those Pinky and these. Gilbert. Paul Gilbert. All that kind of stuff. My Bella wants to go out. You'll have a great day. Gotta go. Love ya. So long. Be good.